Did EC Comics represent the best comic art of the past 100 years? Were these masters of comic art at their absolute peak?
Let's just go ahead and say yes to those bold statements. And let's back up that proposition. A close-up exam of this Best of EC Artists Edition Volume 1 from IDW 2013, rare, out-of-print. I scored a copy. And I thought we'd take a close, loving look at these full-size originals by EC Masters. We're talking about Wood and Frazetta. Alex Toth is in here, Krigstein, Joe Orlando Moore. We'll see every brushstroke, every bit of whiteout, every gory detail. The books reprinted are from the early 50s. They are pre-Comics Code, and there's some rough stuff in there, be forewarned. But the art, oh my gosh. Ogle these pages. There's something to be absorbed and enjoyed on every spread. So let's get to it, fellow comic art lovers. We're going to unbox and love on the Best of EC Artists Edition Volume 1 now.
Okay, I've put on the white gloves to handle this art object. It comes in a preformed box. I consider the box part of the overall package. I'm keeping it in it, but look at this. Frank Frazetta cover, one of his most famous and amazing comic art illustrations, and look at that spot varnish. That is art into itself. Open up to the end papers. Look at this. This is a Marie Severin illustration with caricatures of the EC writers and artists. There's Marie herself with a little bit of inside jokes about each of them. Holy cow, it's worth it just for that. And we start to look at the interior. A Feldstein detail, I believe. This is a 2013 IDW publication. It is sold out, man. There was another limited edition, but it's sold out too. They did a spectacular job. Here are the artists represented. Here's another detail. You can really see the zipatone when it's blown up that far. Very striking. I believe that's Krigstein. Table of contents, the Johnny Craig illustration. This is the Johnny Craig section. Dig that giant fingerprint. A reversed out stat. Very innovative. Touch and go. Johnny Craig, underappreciated comic artist, in my opinion. I knew his work as a kid. He did some issues of Iron Man in the late 60s. There's a little paste up. Wow, look at that. Great. Eyeball in the magnifying glass. These, of course, were psychological dramas. Very dark, very edgy. Doesn't seem to end well for this guy. Whirlpool. More angst. The Vault of Horror. Okay, he's really got the psychological tension going on here. The blacks, the stares. This guy is maniacal, pulling hair. Pretty disturbing. But if you were a 15-year-old in the 50s reading this, you would be captivated. Boy, this woman is really going through some things. I look forward to reading this to see what her issue is. Look at her trying to get out of that box, upper panel. Very graphic. Beautiful faces, beautiful inking. And as the story closes, also doesn't look like it ends well. We see a famous cover on crime suspense stories by Johnny Craig. Oh man, he did the most gruesome ones, the ones you used to see in like the Senate hearings and stuff, and in the Frederick Wortham endeavors. Sheesh. Well crafted though. Okay, it's Roy Krenkel's turn. He did some of the most amazing EC comic art. The level of illustration here. Time to leave. Time to leave. Get it? It looks to be a time travel story. So well realized. The writers and editors at EC realized the story. The story is what keeps you coming back. That's why they're so copy heavy. But you really got your money's worth because there's a lot going on. Well, it was great, Krinkle. Fabulous. Just fabulous work, and it's Krigstein's turn. More blessed to give. What a stylist. Art just pops right away. There's less to it in some panels, but the design and eye flow, there's nothing quite like it. Yeah, here's his trademark look. These tall, thin, staccato panels that he's famous for. Something's going on with that mid-century modern house. The catacombs. Look at the grays. That's done in a wash, I guess? Or craft tint? Is that craft tint? It's really hold up in black and white, don't they? I mean, I'm sure they were gorgeous in color. Really cool. Ooh, man. Wow. Look at that solid black panel at the ending. Dark, literally. The Flying Machine is the next tale. Exotic. The level of imagination in these books, it's incredible. And it was varied. All different kind of styles, all kind of different takes, different eras, different countries, different periods of time. That's something we don't think about a lot. But grew up in superhero books that all took place in New York in the 60s. These stories took place wherever the human imagination could go. And this spread gives us some pencils. Oh. Wow, that's cool. I've never seen that before. What craftsmanship. Oh, more pencils. Letting you see a little bit of a close-up. Here you can see the drafting. And the word balloon text, written in, had to be re-lettered. I wonder why that would be. Look at these faces. The ship. Wow. Entertaining comics, all right. What's the address? Lexington Avenue. Okay, Harvey Kurtzman. He wasn't just this incredible writer and innovator. He could draw. He had a style. Now, we see Kurtzman on many of the other pages because they were probably his layouts. That's how he wrote a lot of this stuff. But it's real fun to see his style, too. Very vivid. Very graphic. A lot of contrast. Some great action. Womp, womp, whop. And then upper right, blam. High tide, man. This is famous. Corpse on the Imjin? I should really look up the pronunciation. Famous fight sequence. Very primal. Man versus man. Looks like there's a corpse on the Imjin. Profound. Henry and his goon child. There's a change up from weird fantasy. An early kind of robot story. Mad scientist. Imagine that. A mad scientist in an EC comic. Looks really great, though. I have a feeling this robot thing isn't going to go that well. Man versus machine. Whoa. Interesting. Twist ending. Man and Superman. That's unusual. It looks to be two aspects of the same id. The muscle-bound guy. His nerdy pal, nemesis, worth a read. But the theme looks to be man versus himself. Kudos to the lettering here. Aha! Kurtzman covers from Frontline Combat. The planes can't dig him out. The tanks can't dig him out. Looks like it's up to us. Fix bayonets. War and Fighting Men, Frontline Combat. Special issue. A document of the action at Iwo Jima. Two-fisted tails. Get this Jeep out of here. The road's been mined. It's a guerrilla ambush. Very unsparing, unglamorous look at war. EC Classics 3D. That was from later in the run. Wish I had it. Wish I had some 3D glasses. Joe Orlando. Oh, we forget what an incredible craftsman he was as well. How influential. But these guys spend like weeks on every page. The amount of detail and rendering and inking the machines, the figures. But they let the story preside. We could learn so much from these panels in which the upper fourth was always copied. Fourth of the panel. And the artist, of course, then would keep that in mind. See a lot of artists today that really don't. Leave room for word balloons. Here's why you should leave room for word balloons. Look at Joe Orlando going to town here. You gotta love also the stuff in the margins. You know, the pencil scratches. Oh, famous last panel. Wow. Famous twist. Daring for its time. Commendable bum steer. Space Western. Name your genre. They did a lot of emotion in Joe Orlando stories as well. Got some cool looking aliens in this one. Wow, what a great alien, in fact. You could curl up with a comic book then. You could really get lost in this. Handsome men. Beautiful women. Well-drawn animals. Oh boy, one of my favorite artists of all time, comic artists of all time, Alexander Toth. Thunderjet. Here we get a completely different kind of style, very cinematic, lots of contrast, incredible design, eye flow. Less is more in a lot of shots, silhouettes, just the aspect of things. The guy could draw jets, gotta admit that. Yeah, these panels on the right, that's mostly sky. It's white, white, white. Little bit of the mountain, then the plains. You really get a sense of flight here and motion. I am so glad they preserved these pages. Hats off to IDW and the editors. Well, that's too little Toth. But we make up for it because Al Williamson is really one of the top 5 favorite EC artists. The level of illustration was really like nothing else. The figures, the inking, the composition, the realism, I put that in quotes, but what Williamson has here, as I look at it, is realism, but with artistic flourish, like with the inks, the brush strokes can be seen. So at once, you've got kind of a hyper-realism, but then you've also got master illustrative touches that say this is a drawing. Gives it just a divine spark. No wonder it's been so influential, so beloved. These artist editions, you can see the pay stubs, it's great. Just imagine on any given day, he had that page on his drawing board, and by George, look what became of it. Contemplative space tale. Very iconic images of spaceship, the moon. Al Williamson, man. He was still around when I was coming up. He's still doing work for DC. Great creature. Great action. Who needs a science fiction drive-in movie? Curl up with an EC. Beautiful women too, of course. Very talky ending. Great looking guys. Well, 50 Girls 50, super famous. It's mentioned in the blurb for this book, IDW's own promotion. In fact, I can look at it on the screen and read this while we turn the pages, while you enjoy beautiful Al Williamson art. I will tell you what IDW says about this book. It says, EC Comics is arguably the finest line of comics ever produced. Whether it was science fiction or war, crime or horror, their entire line stood head and shoulders above the rest of the comics on the newsstands. Now, IDW Publishing is pleased to present an artist edition unlike any other, featuring the best stories of the brightest stars of EC Comics. Remember these stories? 50 Girls 50 by Al Williamson and Frank Frazetta. Oh, that's Frank Frazetta. I'm glad I read that. You can rewind this and look at it anew that it was Frazetta. The other stories it cites as being super famous in its promo blurb includes The Corpse by Harvey Kurtzman. We just saw that. The Flying Machine by Bernie Krigstein. We saw that. And Touch and Go by Johnny Craig, which led off this book. Judgment Day by Joe Orlando. Saw that. All these plus more. And a stunning cover gallery crammed with glorious EC goodness. Truth in advertising, huh? I didn't really know EC Comics growing up as a comic reader as a kid. Even as a fan in my teens, I didn't really know of their existence. There wasn't really a way. They, of course, weren't on the newsstands. There weren't really reprints until sort of a renaissance in the 60s. The older fans knew. The older fans collected EC. And then the reprints started, and younger comic fans went, whoa, mind's blown. And then the EC collectors, that was their jam. That was their focus. My two older fan friends, maybe 5 years older than me, they traded. My buddy Don traded my buddy Jim an EC comic. I don't know which one, but I'm sure Jim thought he got the better deal as an EC zealot. My goodness. Just incredible. The depth, the composition. Story, story, story. Love that profile shot of that guy. The lights in the distance. Incredible backlighting. Famous cover. Almost want to look at the last page of the story, but let's look at that cover. That's cool. One famous, wonderful, amazing illustration. Look at the jets of the rocket. Drawn in another color, probably for a color hold. Feldstein, Frazetta, and Wood. What? Who? Where'd that come from? Tales of Terror. Oh, this is the cover gallery. I see. Yeah, I see. Feldstein covers. Yeah, amazing. There's a limited edition of this book with that illustration on the left. There's the Frazetta. Amazing illustration, unadorned by copy. I'd slice that out and have that framed if it wouldn't ruin a very special book. Well, that was the cover gallery. That is the end of the book. This is the Marie Severin end papers. Worth a relook. And this is the back cover.
Well, that's a super cool book, I think. I hope you think so too. I'm going to have to go back and read those stories. The writing in EC Comics is, of course, vivid and groundbreaking and just thoroughly entertaining. Entertaining Comics was the original name, right, of EC? You might ask yourself, wow, how are we going to top Best of EC Artist Edition Volume 1? Well, how about with this? The Best of EC Artist Edition Volume 2, which I scored. That'll be next time on Walt Now. So as I like to say, to be continued.